Hello everyone, this is Bobbin Threadbare and welcome back to BioShock Infinite.
Come on, Comstock House is up ahead.
Last time we saw a bunch of refugees fleeing the city. Today we'll be seeing some of what they've been fleeing. But first, of course, we're going to search through people's belongings and the garbage.
The seed of the prophet shall sit the throne. He was grooming me, wasn't he?
Comstock? Yeah, I think so.
And why lock me up?
Well, I'm guessing you didn't want to be groomed. Maybe he had something in the works to make you agreeable.
Like what?
I think it's best we don't find out.
Yeah, oddly enough, she was kind of too young to be able to realize whether or not she should be groomed.
Thought they'd stay on top forever. Ha! Look at them now! Two of them!
Oh, that was efficient. But yeah, like I was saying, she was kind of a little young to even resist the idea of being groomed when she was first locked up in that tower. So I think that much was more for safety's sake than for anything else. Although you do have a question of, oh. Finally. There we go. Gonna have to save up a lot of money to get charge aid here.
Stampede!
But yeah, the real question is why he didn't make any more personal appearances than he did. Comstock, I mean.
Interesting.
Is there anyone who could hear the sound of my voice? These are dire times, and I could ever so use your aid. I hope no one has forgotten me, here. Now back to the music.
A consummate professional. There's something admirable about that, you know? Playing music even as the Titanic is sinking.
It's locked.
Ah, this won't take long at all. Done.
That said, in this case, I think it might be wiser overall if he actually did get the hell out of there, because, you know, unlike the Titanic sinking, he's not in a completely doomed hello.
Death to tyrants!
Unlike the Titanic, he's not in a completely doomed situation. I just picked up upgrades for my two go-to weapons, so I figure, you know, it's probably not going to have anything that interests me just yet.
District's out. Execute anybody who looks like they give us trouble. Anyone with a gun, anyone wearing glasses. Round up the rest.
And that's a reference to Cambodia.
Hey, Booker.
Mr. Comstock, when we next meet, it won't be to parley. See, I went out to that Hall of Heroes to scalp your false shepherd for you. Turns out, though, DeWitt speaks Sioux. He helped me to swap words with this crippled child I've been, looking after. Now, after hearing how the kid has fared in your city, I'm thinking when we take your pelt, I'll let him hold the knife.
Think you can crack this one open?
Sure thing. Got it.
That, by the way, is, I'm pretty sure, the end of that guy's... Oh, there are people in here. I think that's the last time we hear from the hunter, I was saying. I have to say, it's a fairly nice resolution to his little subplot.
That's what you get, folks, for making...
Alright, now, I seem to recall there's something around here. So, when I take another look, I believe, yeah, those doors will be able to open at some point in the future.
You got empty pockets? Best keep on.
You hold on to this.
Perfect timing.
But they do not open just yet. Oh, yeah. Looks like these toilets were crap even before the revolution.
Another year, or maybe less.
Interesting.
Giant cheese wheel.
Grab that lockpick.
What lockpick?
Weapons missing.
Huh. 50% chance the melee target is stunned. Yes, that is clearly a downgrade from what I've got.
All kinds of deadliness.
She sits alone.
Now, where's that lockpick you pointed
He
out?
doesn't own, he doesn't write. He says he's busy.
Also, for that matter,
She says, is he?
take a close look at this area here.
He doesn't.
You know, right underneath the cash register. You notice that, you know, there's actually nothing there, right? There's a lockpick, at least. But yeah, there's just the texture.
That seems right up your alley.
Really? That little old lock. There.
Getting a nice amount of money now. I was having trouble getting out of that corner there. Alright. Time to move on, I think. Hear the telltale signs of a tear up here.
Dance with the man. Come on.
Anyone else here?
Rich girl dance.
Righteous fury!
Alright, let's try and get some crow chains going here. Yeah, he sure screams a lot, doesn't he? Takes a lot of damage, too. Ah, crap. Alright, let's try something new. Just keep him busy, you know? Keep him from moving until it's too late. And there's the tear. A lot of good it did me, though. But that's my fault, I didn't local left. Now, where did that civilian go? There's a lot of junk around here now. Didn't start in this world as junk. And that's sure how it's ended. Also a lot of stairs, I'm realizing. Which is kind of pointless because there's no need for stairs in a floating city.
Your homes are ours. Your lives are ours. Your wives are ours. It all belongs to the Vox.
Okay, yeah, I think these guys have officially gone nuts. So I'm going to hopefully let the... No. It's already back on their side. Oh, maybe a Tesla coil will help.
Okay.
And while that's taking care of business, I can search around for some, I don't know, some salts. Really anything useful. Since, you know, there is a Patriot immediately out there, and it's very much capable of tearing me to pieces. Not to mention all of these other people.
Ammo, take it. Here you go.
Nice!
Oh, crap. Patriot must have rounded the corner or something. And there he is, tearing the door to shreds. And now he's tearing me to shreds. At least I got some more salts.
The Lutece field entangled my quantum atom with waves of light, allowing for safe measurement. Sound familiar, brother? That's because you were measuring precisely the same atom from a neighboring world. We used the universe as a telegraph. Switching the field on or off became dots and dashes. Dreadfully slow. But now you and I could whisper through the wall.
Sure thing.
Well, at least I got the Patriot down. Oh, hello. Bad choice on your part. Hey, the Tesla coil is really taking care of business here. You can kind of see why they apparently don't let you face these things normally. Like, if they're that effective and all. Man, they are engaging at extreme range here.
I'm out.
Well, I suppose it's because, you know, if they don't, then bad things happen to them. Bad electrical things. Yeah, there's even more guys over here. Really feels like I'm facing a large force for once.
There.
I mean, they are trickling in, but, you know, you can only expect so much. My only real question is, where the hell are these guys going? Ah, crap.
Catch.
Thanks!
Watch out, fireman.
Do it.
All right.
Maybe that should slow him down. Or not. Maybe he'll run right on past it. Or maybe there's two of them and I managed to stop one of them. Hey, it did work. Just, you know, only about half as well as I expected. But then that's because I was facing twice as many enemies as I thought I was. Thank you, Tesla Coil. You're a real big help. Now to steal everything that isn't nailed down. Ah.
I'll wait down here.
There's how you get up here. Hey, some nice stuff hidden in the corner. I mean, it's all the kind of crappy Vox stuff, but, well, what can you do?
That'll do.
But yeah, to be honest, I would say that the trashed areas, the mutilated corpses, they actually mean more than they did back in BioShock 1. Because in this case, we know what the world was like before this happened. I mean, it was built on the backs of the oppressed, but everything hadn't quite gone to shit. Nope. That's everything. Alright, I think I've done just about everything I can do in this area. Oh, no, what? Spoke too soon. A few more trunks here. And this is the way I came in. Got a little bit turned around there. Whoops. And, oh yeah.
Can you get this open?
Let me see.
Now that nobody's firing at us, she can actually open that thing. Alright, so I've been up to the left. I think I've got everything around here. Been up to the... oh, yeah. Couple more trash cans. I would say it's worthless, but I did get some hand cannon ammo. That stuff is valuable as gold. Don't think I've searched all of these executed people, however. They were not taken out pretty, were they? Yeah, I've been over to the right here. So I think that about covers it. Thoroughly ransacked this area.
Locked. Elizabeth.
Give me a second. Done.
Shoot to kill! Like hell!
Do it!
There!
Well, shit. Snipers.
Slit your throat!
That did not work as well as I had hoped it would. Sounds like I got someone, but both the snipers are still shooting at me.
I will kill you!
Maybe this'll help, though. It sounds like it's working.
Everybody die!
Well, I got at least one of the snipers. Give me enough time to take the other one out.
Those turnstiles are one way. Should we check out the bookstore before we leave?
Subtle hint. Yeah, in this case, it actually is kind of obvious.
Go ahead!
Okay.
A few nice things up here, then. As the other sniper's perched, but his stuff did fall down from there. So let's check out this bookstore. Oh, damn, so close. Look at that. Need $5 more. Luckily.
Hold on.
Nice.
Well, Elizabeth is helping too. finally. Got a bonus to my charge skill.
Can you get this open?
I'll see what I can do.
And that is going to come in handy eventually.
Got it.
I mean, I'm not exactly using charge now, but don't you worry, because in the future, I will be using it. Ah, crap. Didn't look at that one. And I've forgotten what the inventory button is. Well, I'm sure it wasn't a good piece of clothing anyway.
Brother, what Comstock failed to understand is that our contraption is a window not into prophecy, but probability. But his money means the Lutece field could become the Lutece tear, a window between worlds, a window through which you and I might finally be together.
Downstairs.
Sally! The bastard snuck in while the Vox was shooting up the place and took my girl! Got her locked up in the Salty Oyster, his hidden closet he keeps all his treasures. Just need to hit the button under the register to open it, but...
Interesting. You know, I took a very good look at the register back in the Salty Oyster, and I did not see a button. But hey, maybe I just need to look again. And run all the way back across the map in order to find it. But first...
Take this! I've got ammo! That's all I've got.
Put you down.
I have no idea how I survived that. Well, anyway, like I was saying, I do need to backtrack across the entire map, so I've done so, and here we are back at the Salty Oyster. Now, where is that register?
There must be a button under the register.
Yes, thank you for reminding me of the... Yeah, that button was not there before. Luckily, we do have a decent reward for wasting all that time.
Press to generate a magnetic shield. Hold to absorb damage and release to throw it back. Hold and release to create an explosive trap.
Or hell.
Just what the doctor ordered.
Really? We just risked our lives for a bit of titillation?
I think I knew her. Worked at a bar on Houston Street.
I bet you did.
That would be the girl that the Salty Oyster guy stole.
You have been transfused, brother, into a new reality. But your body rejects the cognitive dissonance through confusion and hemorrhage. But we are together, and I will mend you. For what separates us now but a single chromosome?
The shield doesn't really last very long, so it's actually far more useful as a way to absorb and reflect damage, rather than to just avoid it. Let me show you what I mean.
Make it quick.
Yep, that's a lot of damage.
Want to hold on to this?
Now to make my way
Perfect
back
timing.
to where we left off. Ah, here we are.
These lock when we pass through. We won't be able to return.
Yeah, I got that the first time, thank you. So yeah, Return to Sender's a pretty decent infusion.
Can you open this?
It's a simple dual-dial lock. My book said most fools keep the combination no more than 20 feet away.
Let's hope we find one of those fools.
It's just a shame I never remember to use it more often.
This might be it. Why are you so keen on lockpicking and code breaking?
If you put a person in a cage, they develop an interest in such things.
I suppose so.
And I won't be locked up again.
What sets those things off? And why are you clipping into the wall? Seems like kind of an obvious oversight when you don't have a choice of where you're looking.
Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you...
Promise me.
I will stop him.
That is an oath you cannot keep. But promise me that if it comes to it, you will not let him take me back.
It won't come to that. All right.
0451, by the way, that's the beating number in the BioShock and Deus Ex series. Today, I'll be jumping off a comment some dude back in Battleship Bay made in passing to discuss a scientific discovery and the unscientific concepts which developed out of this discovery. I'll also be making up for lost time, because today we're visiting Philosophy Corner to talk about evolution, eugenics, and social Darwinism. Proponents would tell you that social Darwinism belongs in Science Corner, but no. No, it does not. The facts. Like most other groundbreaking, revolutionary discoveries, the roots of the theory of evolution extend considerably further back than Charles Darwin's trip to the Galapagos Islands. For instance, humans have been using artificial selection to genetically modify dogs, cattle, horses, sheep, chickens, corn, tomatoes, wheat, beans, bananas. In other words, we've known for a very long time that if you encourage reproduction around a favorable mutation, you can change the nature of an organism. Some of the earliest evolutionary theory came from Erasmus Darwin, Charles Darwin's grandfather. In 1796, in the book Zoonomia, Erasmus offered the vague theory that all life forms have a common ancestor. In 1809, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck came up with the idea that traits learned during a creature's lifetime could be passed on to its offspring. And while the nature of genetics proves that he was ultimately wrong, actually it turns out that epigenetics kind of work like that, since you can pass on which genes are currently active or inactive. Also, in the mid-19th century, the Augustinian friar Gregor Mendel first described the idea of recessive and dominant genes, even though it would take another century for anyone to know what a gene really was. In 1831, Charles Darwin, a geologist and marine biologist, then fresh out of college, signed up for a 5-year trip on the HMS Beagle, which would take him across the entire globe. He made several important geological observations on the trip, including a description on how coral reefs and atolls form over time, but all anyone really remembers is what he noticed during his stop in the Galapagos Islands, a remote island chain in the Pacific Ocean a few hundred miles off the west coast of Ecuador. During his tour of the islands, Darwin noted that there were several distinct differences between otherwise similar species on each of the islands. You could identify a tortoise's island of origin by the pattern of its shell, for instance, and each island had its own sort of finch, with a slightly different beak shape which was perfectly suited to the particular fruits and nuts which were most common on each island. He sat on this observation for a couple decades, and it wasn't until he'd done a lot more reading and made a lot more observations that he finally produced his seminal work on the origin of species, which was first published in 1859. And immediately after publishing his theory about evolution and common ancestry, there was a vigorous scientific debate. There really wasn't much religious outcry at first, even though by the mid-19th century the Christian Protestants were already starting to divide into liberal and conservative camps. What really got people upset was when he and other scientists extended the concept of evolution to include humans, and to classify them as a kind of ape. Even so, this was more of a debate between scientists and theologians, and I should point out that both groups were and are lined up on both sides. But evolution versus creation wasn't a major public debate until after World War I, and by that point, Charles Darwin himself had very little to do with the reasons behind the argument. The bullshit. Darwin's theory, and evolution in general, were, are, and I'm certain will be, mischaracterized by people who don't quite grasp the nuances of how evolution works. The strongest do not survive. The most intelligent do not survive. Even the fittest do not survive. Under optimal conditions, the fit can thrive, but they do not survive. The ones who survive are those who are most adaptable, those who can go through a crisis that changes everything and still succeed. Cooperation is another powerful key to success and survival. You can see it in everything from symbiotic relationships, to insect colonies, to pack behavior. Even multicellular organisms in general benefit from the cooperation of each individual cell. And when one cell decides to screw the rest and strike out on its own, it's called cancer. Unfortunately, not everyone takes these lessons away from evolution and biology, and instead they choose to focus on the often vicious competition between species and between members of the same species. They ignore or don't realize that cooperation is in general more powerful than competition, and instead they see the struggle between various races, nations, and cultures of humanity as being equivalent to the existential battle between different species. Some cultures and races are just naturally stronger and fitter than others, so wiping out lesser cultures and having their members assume servile positions is simply an extension of the natural order. Oh, and it doesn't stop there. These people also misinterpret the effects of directed breeding, which is to make plants and animals more specialized and competent in very specific circumstances, rather than to make them happier or more capable of survival in the long term. For instance, humans are able to use directed breeding and incest to create dog breeds, which are extremely capable of performing a given task, whether that be companionship, competition, herding, or hunting for various animals. But these specialist breeds are generally very unhappy, very stupid, and very prone to genetic disorders and back problems. By contrast, mutts and dogs from versatile breeds are happier, smarter, and live longer. As far as the ability to survive and thrive goes, directed breeding is counterproductive. Unfortunately, applying the theory behind animal husbandry to humans becomes a very seductive argument when you believe what social Darwinists have to say, especially if you're also a monarchist and you believe that some people are simply born to lead. If it's not by divine right, then surely it's because of natural law. Hell, the royal heads of Europe were already keeping it in the family, so to speak, for the sake of limiting access to power and to forge the most powerful alliances possible. So why not apply a scientific-sounding excuse to pre-existing behaviors? And so, under the auspices of cleaning out the gene pool, eugenics came to be. Unfortunately, not only were eugenicists working with an incorrect view of evolution, they were also evaluating traits on racial and classist grounds, not just on the likelihood of a genetic disease manifesting itself. Criminals are criminals not because of desperate circumstances or because of how and where they grow up. Criminals are criminals because of bad genes. And if we prevent criminals from breeding, there will be less of them in the world. Repeat as necessary for immigrants, mentally and physically disabled, sexual deviants as they were then called, and ultimately every race that isn't the one the author belongs to and or simply thinks is best. Now, holding these blank supremacy beliefs isn't necessarily harmful, but it becomes harmful once organizations and governments start acting to enforce these beliefs onto others. The most famous and drastic incident happened in Germany in the 1930s and 40s, and I think you're probably aware of what happened. But eugenics guided public policy here in the United States too, on a state-by-state basis. Miscegenation laws, which prohibit interracial marriage, used eugenics as a justification. Men and women, particularly but not limited to black people in the South, were sterilized against their will and sometimes without their knowledge because they were deemed unfit parents by medical professionals who used the reasons I listed earlier. Alan Turing, father of the electronic computer, was tried and sentenced to chemical castration after his homosexuality came to light in 1952. And while these sterilizations subsided after World War II when Nazi crimes came to light, they did not stop until the 1970s. And it only happened then because of a national legal campaign against these policies. The religious opposition to evolution was an extension of the religious opposition to social Darwinism and eugenics. As bigots moved on from religious to scientific justifications to explain their prejudices, religious organizations who thought the Bible teaches compassion determined that not only was evolution counter to the idea of deific creation, it was also leading people to act in ways that were harmful to their fellow humans. And after the decade of horror that was World War I and the even greater horrors of World War II, compassion, along with the growing fundamentalist movement, led to the very public and very persistent fight against evolution, even in the face of mounting fossil evidence, which paints a very clear and consistent picture of 4.5 billion years of history and development. Personal thoughts. It is literally impossible to take the Bible 100% literally. There's a continuity error right in the first 2 chapters of Genesis. In the first chapter, God creates everything in 6 days, and on the 6th, He creates humanity, men and women, together, simultaneously, and as a group rather than a pair. In the second chapter, God first creates heaven and earth, then water, and then Adam, the first man, alone. And then He creates the first plants, and after that He creates the first animals. Only then does He create Eve from Adam's rib. Now, chapter 2 doesn't specify the number of days this all requires, but the order is completely wrong compared to chapter 1. You cannot take both accounts as literal fact. The New Testament isn't free of errors either. There are 4 separate accounts of the life and times of Jesus of Nazareth, and they all contain different and often mutually exclusive details. In Mark and Matthew, Jesus' final words are, my God, why have you forsaken me?" But in the later Gospel of Luke, His final words are much more dignified. "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." There are ways to reconcile these differences, of course. You could easily say that Jesus had a lot to say when He was up on the cross, for instance. And to account for the first 2 chapters, we've got the extra-biblical account of Lilith, the true first woman whom Adam rejected for being too independent. But my point is not that you can't reconcile the text of the Bible, it's that you have to accept that not every word is the literal truth. There is no such thing as a completely literal interpretation of the Bible. Of course, there is such a thing as a more literal interpretation, an interpretation that takes at least some of the passages at face value. However, even those traditions that bill themselves as taking the Bible literally often take just as many liberties as those they claim are inaccurate and hell-bound. For instance, you know the whole apocalypse thing with the rapture and the Antichrist and the everyone who doesn't believe is proper fucked attitude? That version of Armageddon doesn't actually exist anywhere in the Bible. It's an account which fundamentalists cobbled together during the 19th and early 20th centuries, which combines some fairly random passages from Revelations, Daniel, Ezekiel, and Matthew. And even if the Bible is meant to be read like a choose-your-own-adventure book where you flip through 100 pages to read the next passage, unless they expect a 7-headed beast with 10 horns to actually rise out of the ocean, they still aren't taking the Bible literally. And regardless, I don't see why there needs to be an argument between evolution and creationism. Religion has one question which science can never answer. Why is there anything instead of nothing? So what if there's an effectively infinite number of universes that makes life a statistical inevitability? Why do strings exist? Why do they vibrate the way they do? Why does anything exist? There is space for religion no matter how much we learn about the universe. And as for eugenics, I can understand wanting to discredit Darwin in order to discredit the people who do terrible things which are supposedly but not actually in line with his teachings. But just because some assholes misinterpreted what he had to say doesn't mean that Darwin himself wasn't onto something. I figure that's something the followers of Jesus should be able to understand perfectly well. Thanks for joining me again in Philosophy Corner, and I hope I'll see you soon.